Boom. Okay. Different shirt today, wearing the Hawaiian shirt. Um, okay, so back to Socrates and Plato for day 7 of class. So this is going pretty good. Uh, One thing I want to say is last class, I asked you guys a sort of philosophical question, and I wanted you to think about it. I asked you guys, is a hamburger a sandwich? It's a serious philosophical question. And I just, because I understand I'm giving you a lot of very serious stuff to write about Plato and ancient philosophy. And so I wanted to also have a chance to give you something sort of silly to test your powers on. Because again, you can test your powers. And again, when I say powers, I'm referring to the handout that is labeled How to Write Essays. I really ought to call it something else because I feel like it's more dramatic than that. But the How to Write Essays handout, the what did you read, your opinion, considering objections. I want you to test out your powers. Now, obviously, I'm giving you Plato as a serious thing for you to test your powers out on, but you can also test your powers out on something silly, like the philosophical question of whether or not a hamburger is a sandwich. And so today on this class, I'd like to give you another subject that you could do. So here is another philosophical question for you. Go over to the discussion boards. You go to the day 7 thread or whatever and see what's over there, and then you can just you can talk about something else. So here is your subject, your philosophical subject for day 7. Are you prepared? Deep breath. We're doing philosophy. Here we go. Is a hot dog a sandwich? It's a good question. Is a hot dog a sandwich? Is a hot dog a sandwich? Some of you argued that meat or protein between two pieces of bread is a sandwich. So I got to ask you, it seems like under the definition, if there is a two pieces of bread there, seems like a hot dog would be a sandwich. But I don't know. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like a hot dog should be a sandwich. But if it's between two pieces of bread, so go for it. Discuss it. That's something you can do in the discussion boards. Again, practice your moves, right? What's your opinion? Why is that your opinion? Give me some examples and situations to work with. So that'll be a chance for you to kind of test out your powers. And of course, you can continue to test out your powers on Plato quotes. You can grab quotes, and I would recommend grabbing quotes that you're welcome to read ahead and talk about any quote anywhere in Plato. I'd be happy to hear your opinion on it, but I think it's probably better if you actually do a quote about something we've covered in class, because it's going to be easier to write about something that we've been over, that you've thought about, and that's connected to class. So I would recommend, and of course, also, if you stick with something that we've been over already, your classmates will be able to follow your points more. Whereas if you go get something from the end of the book, most of your classmates will not have read that far. In fact, I imagine most people are not reading this goddamn thing at all. So for two reasons. One is that it's online, so I'm not really going to know. And I refuse to quiz you to make you prove that you've read the thing, because I'm not that kind of person. I just can't do it. Okay, so today for day 7, we are going to continue on with the Plato. Lysias has finished his speech, and now Socrates and Phaedrus are going to discuss Lysias's speech. Phaedrus had a copy of Lysias's speech on him, and they read the whole thing. Phaedrus read it all out loud. Now they're going to talk about it. All right, so let's see what they have to say today. All right. So Socrates says he really likes it, and Phaedrus is not sure he's serious. Don't talk to me about like that way, Socrates. Let me have your real opinion. I adjure you, meaning like I sort of force you, by Zeus, the god of friendship, to tell me whether you think that any Hellene could have said more or spoken better on the subject. By the way, I do kind of want to know what adjure means, so I'm going to look it up here. I'm curious. A-D-J-U-R. Let's see what we got. Boom. Right? So adjure means to command solemnly as if under oath or penalty of a curse, to urge or advise earnestly. So it's like to kind of demand something, to try to command somebody. And they give you some other words in here. Oh, and look at this. There's a little section called what is the difference between adjure, entreat, importune, and implore. So they give you similar words that you can kind of think. So that's sort of interesting. And then they give you some examples and the first known meaning, and they give you the history a little bit. It has to do with an oath, with swearing. Notice, by the way, because it has to do with oaths and swearing, more jury. So adjure is related to jury. You know what a jury is, like in a trial. And again, because they swear to uphold the blah, 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 blah. And we could even click on jury, and see if we can get history for jury. It has to do with swearing. That's exactly what I thought it was. So the word jury, it's related to adjure. They are connected words because a jury is sworn to give a verdict and uphold the law. To adjure someone is to swear to tell the truth, right? So I'm commanding you sort of to, on penalty of, curse from the gods or whatever. Same thing in a trial by jury. I swear on this Bible to blah, 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 blah. So cool. All right. I didn't even know that. See, I looked it up, found out something new. I'm having a good time. All right. This is what I do. This is what I do for fun. I don't know. Get a job that you enjoy. Oh, okay. A lot of weird noises coming out there. I don't know what they are. All right. Let's keep going with this thing. So back on Socrates. So he says, you got to tell me whether you believe this. Socrates says, well, but you and I are expected to praise the he says, but are you and I expected to praise the sentiments of the author, sentiments or feelings, or only the clearness, roundness, and finish and tenure of the language? Now, this is an interesting idea, although there's one very difficult vocabulary word in there that I'm going to need to look up. I'm looking it up now because that is a tough word. So it is a phrase, a particular phrase. Tourneur means this is a really tough word, though. By the way, I'll show you this. If you see right here, let's see if I can. Yeah, that's a useful thing to know. Words are often hard to pronounce. So if you see this little symbol, when you look things up, you can touch it. Tournure. Tournure. So it's sort of a French word. But you can look up a word. Now notice, by the way, when you look up this word, you're going to get some things that you might not want. So for example, if you come here, it turns out that a tournure, it means figure, contour, turn, but it also means a kind of skirt. Skirt is not the definition that you need here. Socrates is not saying, should we praise Lysias's skirt? He's not saying that. The skirt gives a woman a certain shape, and he's asking if we should praise the shape of his language. Socrates raises an interesting issue here. He asks Phaedrus, he says, are we expected to praise the sentiments of the author, meaning sort of the feelings and ideas of the author, or only the clearness, roundness, finish, and tenor of the language? Right, so he's saying, listen, you want my opinion on this speech. Does that mean there's two things you could do here, he says. This is a really important thing to understand. Phaedrus says, what did you think of the speech? And Socrates says this complicated thing that we have to translate into modern day English. We would never say tournure. No one would say that. That's ridiculous. Nobody would say that. This translation is from 1860, so it's ridiculous. But Phaedrus says, what did you think of the speech? And Socrates says, I'm going to translate this into modern day English so we can understand it. Socrates says, are you asking me if we should talk about the ideas in the speech, or whether whether the words were well chosen and it was well argued? Because these are two different things, Socrates points out. So he could say, I think it's a really impressive essay. He came up with a lot of reasons. He came up with a lot of examples. That's one thing. But are we supposed to also praise the ideas? Because it's possible for someone to put together a well-written essay that you totally disagree with. Like I can say, I think the idea of this essay is stupid, right? I think you could say, I think it's stupid to write about why friendship is better than love. Of course love is better. Friendship is not better. And then you could say, well, what are we talking about? If you want to know if this is a good essay, well, I don't think it should have been written in the first place because it's wrong. But did he do a good job? Yes, he did. This is what I do as a teacher, by the way. I grade your language. I grade your word use. So I'm not going to give you a grade based on how much I agree with your point. I'm going to give you a grade based on, did you do the moves on that worksheet well? Not because I agree with your point. And as I pointed out last time, one student can turn in an essay that says love is great. The other student can turn in an essay that says love is terrible. I'll give them both A's because I'm grading you on the language you're using and the moves that you're making that are on that sheet. But Socrates is not sure he's supposed to be doing that. He's like, are we talking about the words or are we talking about the ideas? And again, here's this point that comes up again and again, words versus ideas. Okay, pick it up in the next video.